my people. This week, we are talking about how to stop gaslighting people. How to stop gaslighting others. And if you're like, oh, I would never do that, I'm not a gaslighter, stop clutching your pearls. We have all been the victims of gaslighting at some point, and we've all been the perpetrators at some point. Don't believe me? Check out this video. I'll tell you all about it. So first, let's begin by just defining some terms. What do I mean by gaslighting? What does that mean? Well, you can see my other video about gaslighting to get a little bit more background on how to deal with being the victim of gaslighting. But gaslighting is when someone tries to talk you out of your version of reality, of something you know to be true, or that is true for you. When somebody talks you out of your truth, that is gaslighting. Now, as I said in the intro, like some of us are like, oh my God, I would never do that. Here's the thing. We do it all the time. We just don't realize it. Every parent who has ever responded to their child's question about Santa Claus being real, if you have kids, you know there's this moment where they go, so mom, I saw that wrapping paper in your closet and you said that was from Santa. And we're like, why? No, you must be imagining that. That is Santa's wrapping paper. We don't have that. That is gaslighting. We gaslight our children about Santa and the Easter Bunny. So we can't pretend like we don't do it. But that's an extreme example. Like if you've ever lived with let's say your roommate asked you to take the trash out and you forgot. And you're like, oh, we never had that conversation. You never asked me to take the trash out. I don't know what you're talking about. That's gaslighting, right? So what I want to offer you is not judgment and shame around the fact that you have gaslit somebody, as I have too. It's rather to offer perspective on why we gaslight people, and two, how to stop, because it is a toxic, limiting communication habit. And we are not going to grow into more intimate, functional, high-value relationships if we lean on gaslighting as a technique. So let's get started with understanding, why do we gaslight? There's a lot of reasons for it, but to me, there are just a couple of main reasons that I've observed as a communication coach. We gaslight, number one, because it is a form of manipulation. It's a form of wielding power. I read a quote many years ago from the brilliant intuitive healer Carolyn Mace, who talked about, and I'm paraphrasing here, that those of us who cannot or don't know how to wield our power out in the open, we wield it in the shadows, right? So if we aren't comfortable asking for what we need, owning what we feel, straight out making a request and letting it stand, if we're not able to just take action and use our power out in the open, we tend to do it in the background. We tend to manipulate. We tend to, instead of having a tough conversation with someone, we sort of manipulate their version of reality so that they behave in the way we want them to. So one of the main reasons we gaslight is because we don't know how to use our power out in the open, by simply making a request, by simply stating what our needs are, because we don't want to feel the rejection that comes with using our power out in the open. By manipulating, we never have to ask for what we need. We never have to make our wants, our desires, and our plans clear. We can just manipulate in the shadows. That way we never feel rejected. See how this works, right? So one reason we gaslight is because we don't know how to wield our power out in the open. The second reason we gaslight is that we cannot endure the feeling of being diminished. What do I mean by that? Let's say somebody confronts us about something we've done, and instead of owning our part of it or apologizing or explaining our position clearly, we gaslight them. We talk them out of whatever it was that they were saying, so that we don't have to endure the feelings associated with being wrong, having made a mistake, having disappointed someone, having misspoken, having lied, whatever it is that we're being called out on. We don't know how to deal with those emotions. Let me give you, this is a funny example. It's a little example, but it's a real example. Many months ago, my husband has a very specific way of taking out the trash. He's OCD. I'm not. I don't really get it. And so if I ever have to take out the trash, I don't do it right all the time. I don't. I screw it up somehow. And then something happens, the dog gets into it. Next thing you know, there's crap everywhere, right? So that is exactly what happened. He goes outside, the trash isn't done properly, and there's just debris happening. And I was the one who did it. And he comes in, he's like, who took out the trash? And I was like, I don't know. Totally acted like real natural, didn't admit that it was mine, and just was like, oh, I don't know. Tried to hide. And he's like, babe, you took out the trash, right? And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe it was one of the kids. Like, I wouldn't accept the criticism. I couldn't sit with the feelings of feeling like an idiot that doesn't know how to put the trash out. B, having done it wrong. C, being called out by my spouse on it. It was just like, I didn't want to sit with that feeling. I didn't want to feel diminished in that moment. And a couple minutes went by and I said to him, I was like, Sal, I'm the one that did the trash. I'm the one that screwed it up. I'm really sorry. Like, I don't know why I wasn't able to just own it and apologize and also give you the feedback that I'm not the best person to take out the trash because I can't follow your protocol. So since then, we now have a new system where our children take turns taking out the trash because they are excellent at following his protocols. Me, not so much. So because I learned and I caught myself gaslighting him, I learned to just call a little time out, apologize, own my part of it, but also speak my truth that your trash protocol, I can't, it's too many steps. I got too much else on my mind. There are better people that we can put on this job. And so that's what he did. And that's how we resolved it. But it meant I had to sit with his disappointment in me, his annoyance with me. And you know, those of us who grew up in complicated households as children, we will do anything to avoid those feelings, up to and including gaslighting people. So I want you to think about that. I want you to have some compassion for yourself. I want you to think about why you are wielding your power in the background and in the shadows. And I want you to think about how you might practice sitting with the feeling of being diminished and how you might practice articulating your position, kindly owning what you did wrong, but also, you know, maybe advocating for yourself because maybe there's a reason you don't want to sit there and feel diminished, like my trash example. But as you can see, gaslighting is just a bad habit that's born out of other bad habits. And if you can do a little bit of forensic work on that, if you can get more conscious of why you're communicating the way you're communicating, when you're communicating, you're going to become such a better communicator. I hope that was helpful. Do me a favor. If you try any of these techniques, drop me a note, send me an email. Bronwyn at Bronwyn Communications. I read your comments. They mean the world to me. And if you want to take this topic further, let me know what you want to know. I'll do more videos on it. But as always, like, subscribe, and comment. It saves lives. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and every subscriber counts at this point. And as always, shine on. We need your light. See you next week.